Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is part 1 of What If Naruto Was Rosario Vampire. If you guys enjoy this what if, then comment, like and subscribe. Let's go. Also the video goal is 10 likes, so let me know that you're interested in the series and you want the next part. Then go ahead and check out the other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave. Also share the video with your friends and link in the description. So let's go. What do you mean I'm going to be leaving Konoha? I thought this was the safest place for me right now. Naruto Uzumaki, teenage shinobi of genin status in the hidden leaf and container of the dreaded Kyuubi no Kitsune, gripped the edge of the village leader's desk while said village leader rubbed one of her temples to suppress the encroaching headache. Listen, Naruto, it's not entirely my choice here. With Jiraiya no longer being with us, there's not many others who can bring you out of the village and keep you safe. Originally we would have sent you off with him after the incident with Hidan and Kakuzu. I was debating on whether or not I should let you leave again to find Sasuke. As you already know, things went a bit against our plan, and Sasuke ended up getting away. Tsunade, the current Hokage of Konoha, sighed as she looked to the blonde in front of her, feeling anything but joyful right now. No more than 4 days ago Jiraiya had been killed by pain, and now she was given this thrown at her as well. So you're just going to send me away while everyone else fights? That's not fair to them. I'm the one Akatsuki's after to start with, why should I have others fight for? Enough Naruto. You think I enjoy this? Do you think I would be dumping all this on you if I had a choice? The council overrode my decision, and the majority of the clan heads voted in favor as well. Since this involves the village security, their votes do count. I don't have power override this. Tsunade leaned back in her chair as Naruto slowly sat down, digesting the information. So, this, school. I have to be normal, and not use jutsu, right? You can use taijutsu, sure, but being seen using ninjutsu will have people staring at you like a freak. This, world, land. I'm not even sure what to call it. Well, Jiraiya said alternate dimensional plane or whatever, but the point is that the people there cannot tap into their chakra reserves like we can. Jiraiya left me with this seal to create a transportation bridge between this land and ours. The buxom woman pulled out a thick scroll. As far as I'm aware, this scroll can work both ways, so it makes travel possible. Though, I think there was some kind of thing that you needed to use to travel to the other world. An automobile, or whatever. He said it was big and yellow. Naruto looked at the scroll, already recognizing some of the fine detail work that made the seal so complex. Contrary to the majority belief, Naruto was fairly well versed in basic fuinjutsu. As such, he was able to recognize some basic space and time characters used in sealing. He was not able to do much more than that though, the seal was way beyond his overall understanding. Naruto, you hear me? The blonde Jinchuuriki blinked before turning to Tsunade again. Huh. Tsunade gave him an annoyed look. I said, tomorrow we'll have this seal ready outside the front gate. I want you to pack everything you may need for a several-year stay at this school. Several years. Naruto repeated, how long are we talking here? Possibly 3 years, if not more. Silence. Tsunade looked to see the boy before her go absolutely silent, his eyes staring at her disbelievingly. She pursed her lips a bit. Naruto. 3 years, or more. That's crazy. I was already gone for 3 years with Ero Sennin. He started raising his voice. You want me to go to some school in a place that can only be reached by some super complex teleportation seal that Ero Sennin made, and you can't even tell me where it is on a map. This is crazy. Tsunade stood up straight, and grabbed the blonde by the collar. Naruto Uzumaki, listen now, and listen well. I am not leaving this up to discussion, do you understand me?
Help me!
Naruto glared at her defiantly, yes. She dropped her glare, look. She sighed as she let go of the boy. I'm going to allow visitors to see you twice a year, so it won't be like you're going to be completely cut off from us. I met the person in charge of this, Youkai Academy, and they said that they will do what they can to meet your special accommodations. Apparently they had Jiraiya do a favor years back for them, and wish to repay it. Oh. Naruto wasn't really listening after she said that someone could visit. He was still mulling over how he'd have to start over at some weird and parallel world, or so it was called. He remembered hearing of this stuff in fantasy books and the like, but he never thought such places were real. I'm going to give you 12 hours to gather your things, okay? In that time, get your gear packed, say your goodbyes, and get some rest. The bus will be here at 7 in the morning. Naruto gave a nod, and left the office without a word. Tsunade sighed as she rummaged through a drawer in her desk. Pulling out her sake bottle she kept hidden from Shizune, she eyed over the small bottle of alcohol before putting it back in the drawer. No, she couldn't let herself drown in that stuff tonight. She'd have to say goodbye to Naruto first thing in the morning, and having a hangover wouldn't help. So, you're leaving again. Naruto couldn't even look her in the eye as he spoke. Yeah. I didn't want to tell anyone. I figured Ba-chan would just make up a story for me so no one would be worried. Sakura Haruno wasn't happy to hear that her dear friend and teammate was leaving for some world that she wouldn't even be able to go and visit by normal means. Well, if it's for your safety, then I guess I can understand. Yeah, are you going to tell Kakashi-sensei? Naruto shook his head. Chances are that he already knows. He's an elite Junin, after all. He probably was informed before I was on this. He always had a way of finding out these things. True. Sakura replied weakly, 3 or more years. I just hope that you'll be okay. The blonde shrugged, I'll make it. I just need to pretend to be a regular civilian. No trouble. I'll just have to make up some story or something. Ba-chan says this school has a few quirks to it that are weird, even for this alternate world standards. Well, either way. Sakura gripped Naruto's hand lightly as the two sat on the railing of the bridge where they had met so many times before. We'll miss you. All of us. Yeah, I'll miss you guys too. Naruto replied sadly, I don't think I'll be able to make friends with any of the kids at this school. Sakura sensed his mood taking a turn for the worse. She smiled a little and attempted to change the subject. Looks like you'll have to study again, haha. Naruto's eyes widened. Oh no. You mean I'm going to be doing math and history? Aw crap. He groaned as he buried his head in his hands. Why me? Sakura giggled as she patted Naruto's shoulders sympathetically. Don't worry. You won't have any ninja stuff to get in the way. Who knows, maybe you'll be able to teach me a few things when you return. Naruto smiled as he looked up to the rosette. Yeah. Maybe I will. Sakura and Naruto parted after that. But Kunoichi gave Naruto a hug while trying her best not to sound too sad. The blonde had wormed his way into her life. Even during his absence with Jiraiya, she had thought about him. To her, Naruto was a beacon of hope for her. He had been the one to go above and beyond the call and try and save Sasuke. He had been the one to comfort her when Team 7 was torn asunder by Sasuke's betrayal. He had been one of the few constants in her life, and a wonderful and true friend. Now he was leaving, and this time no communication methods outside of space and time manipulation would be able to reach him. As she watched the blonde head down the road to his apartment, likely to get the rest of his belongings packed and get some sleep, she couldn't help but wonder how one individual was able to take so much and endure. She wanted to call out to him and comfort him, let him know that no matter what, she'd always be willing to help him. She'd always be willing to be a shoulder for him when he had no one else to console him. She never did though. Why? She wasn't sure. Maybe, she thought, if she didn't, it would be easier for him to leave. The less of a connection he had here, the less it would hurt for him to leave the village. Heading back to her own home, she thought about these things. She'd be up early tomorrow so that she could see him off with Tsunade-sama and anyone else who knew of his departure. After all, even Naruto himself wasn't sure how long he would be gone. Who knew when she would see him next? The following morning came with the first rays of sun for Naruto. He groaned a bit before attempting to turn off his alarm clock. After several attempts, all which resulted in missing the clock completely, he managed to grab a hold of the damned contraption and fling it across his bedroom, followed by the pleasant sound of it hitting the wall and breaking. He forced himself to a sitting position, and smacked his lips a few times while rubbing the sleep out of his eyes. He stood up, and took a quick survey of his room. It was completely barren. Not that he had much to begin with, but most of it was packed away in several storage scrolls. The apartment was, for the most part, empty. Standing up, he picked up a scroll he left on the floor, and unrolled it. Looking to his bed, he made a few hand seals before it too disappeared into the scroll. He grabbed a towel and a bar of soap and headed towards the bathroom for a shower. He finished cleaning himself within 5 minutes, and was dressed in the green uniform that Tsunade had given him yesterday, claiming it to be a school uniform. I'm already getting a bad feeling about this place, Naruto commented as he looked at himself through the reflection in his window. Green. Not a spot of orange on it. Horrible fashion sense on the school's part. He tucked away the last of his storage scrolls, and put them in his travel pack. Whatever he didn't need once he got to school would be kept safely inside the rolled pieces of paper. He took one last look at his room before closing the door and locking it. He was at the village gates within 10 minutes' time, and was surprised to see Sakura, Yamato, Sai, and Kakashi waiting there with Tsunade and Shizune. He felt his chest tighten when he saw that both Kakashi and Tsunade had packages wrapped in paper with ribbons. Hey, Naruto said, giving the group a smile, I guess it's almost time for me to go. Tsunade gave him a weak smile, yes, but we wanted to see you off first. Here, she handed him the package in her arms. It's got a few things I want you to open later when you're all settled in at the academy. There's also a gift from Shizune and I. Think of it as an early birthday gift from the two of us. Naruto grinned, you didn't have to do that. For me. Tsunade just laughed, please, I'm practically your grandmother. Think of it as an obligation of family members, haha. Shizune, who was biting her lip a little, walked towards Naruto. The blonde was surprised when she pulled him into a hug. You stay safe, Naruto. Promise us that you'll take care of yourself, okay? Naruto blinked, surprised by the usually timid medic Nin's sudden actions, of course, Shizune Nichan. She sniffled a bit before pulling away, good. Sakura was tearing up as well, but she was also smiling, baka. She pulled him into a hug as well. I don't think I need to repeat myself for Shizune, so just make sure you don't get into too much trouble. I'll find out if you do. Naruto laughed, right, Sakura-chan. He returned her hug and spoke, keep getting stronger while I'm gone. Konoha's going to need that freakish strength of yours in the future. I'll pretend you didn't just call my strength freakish, she laughed, I'll keep Konoha safe while you're away. I promise. Naruto eventually let go of his teammate, and looked at Kakashi. The silver-haired Junin had a smile on his face, though Naruto could only tell because of the subtle closing of his one visible eye. Alright, Naruto, there's a gift from Sakura and I, and one from Yamato and Sai. You can open it now if you want. Naruto took the parcel from his one-time sensei, and peeled away the wrapping paper. His eyes widened when he saw the contents within the box, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto held in his hands a fairly large book. It was labeled, Advanced Techniques of Konoha, and had the kanji for the 5 elements on the cover. That wasn't what made him tear up though. There was also a framed picture of Team Kakashi taken a day after Naruto had come back from his training with Jiraiya. Sakura and Naruto stood in front of Kakashi while he had a hand resting on either of their shoulders. The three were all smiling like it was going out of style, and it had been taken at Training Ground 7. Thanks. Naruto spoke, unable to say more. Yamato smiled. That book is for Chunin to Junin level shinobi, so I think you'll have your homework cut out for you if you want to learn any techniques from it. Naruto raised an eyebrow. I thought I wasn't allowed to do any training while I'm away aside from taijutsu. Tsunade smirked. I said you can't be seen using anything other than taijutsu. I never said anything against training in secret. Oh. Naruto scratched his head, a bit embarrassed for not realizing that sooner. He had been so bummed out with not being able to use chakra outside of hand-to-hand. Naruto looked to the one person who hadn't said anything since he arrived. Sai had a confused look on his face, and wasn't meeting Naruto's eyes. What's wrong, Sai? Naruto asked with a grin. I'm not sure what to do in this kind of situation. I never got to the part in the book that talks about saying goodbye to friends who you won't see for a long time. Naruto just laughed, and extended his hand. Sai looked to the open palm, and then to Naruto before smiling and taking his hand and shaking it. Keep working on your social skills, Sai. Naruto joked, I'll be back someday. I promise. I'll hold you to that, then. Sai replied. The two were interrupted by the sound of a dull hum. They looked to see a large seal light up in front of the road that lead out of the village. The light grew brighter while the humming grew fainter before a sudden flash of light blinded the group temporarily. They're here already? Tsunade asked. She had set the seal outside the gate no more than 10 minutes ago. She hadn't expected Naruto's ride to be here for another 15 minutes or so. The sound of a low rumbling could be heard, and the group turned to see a giant metal thing on wheels heading towards the gate entrance as it rolled through what looked like a portal of white light. It stopped with a hiss, and what appeared to be a door into the massive contraption opened. "Is that a train?" Naruto asked. He'd seen trains before, even a train when he was in wave protecting the bridge. This was different though. He had never seen such a weird-looking machine before. "That's a bus, I think." Tsunade spoke. "It's earlier than I expected." Naruto looked to the group of friends, and gave a wave goodbye to them. "I guess I'll be seeing you all later." Tsunade took a few steps forward, and wrapped her arms around the boy. "Bye, Naruto. Maybe when you come back you'll be ready to take over for me." "You bet." Naruto chuckled, despite the tears pricking his eyes. "I'll miss you, Ba-chan." "Not as much I'll miss you," she replied. She held him a bit longer before placing a kiss on his forehead and then brushing away a few tears. "Gah, I'm getting too soft." "Haha, that's because you're old." The Jinchuuriki joke. That earned him a light swat on the head, followed by another hug and a demand for him to promise to be safe. Naruto again promised that he would take care of himself, and that he would do his best. Tsunade didn't seem to be ready to let go though. She held him a little tighter as she spoke. "If you ever run into trouble, send a toad to me, okay? I promise I'll do everything I can to help if. Ba-chan, I'll be okay, yeesh. I mean it." Tsunade continued. "I'd hate to lose you too. You're the most important man in my life right now, Naruto." She gripped his shirt tightly. I know you said so already, but promise me one more time that you'll take care of yourself." Naruto smiled a bit as he sighed. "I promise, Ba-chan." Tsunade smiled a bit. "Good." She slowly let go, tears in her eyes. As Naruto headed towards the bus, the 6 shinobi all waved goodbye. The bus drove off with a rumble, a small cloud of gas escaping from the muffler as it turned back into the portal and disappeared with a flash of light. The seal hummed a few times before fading away, the scroll rolling back up in the process. Tsunade picked up the dimensional travel scroll, and held it close to her. "We'll miss you, Yaki." Sukune Aono had been a bit confused when the bus driver, whom was already disturbing enough by himself, said they needed to make a quick stop to a nearby town to pick up another new student. The boy was relieved when he heard that he wouldn't be traveling alone to Youkai Academy. When a bright light suddenly shined all around the bus, Sukune was worried that something bad had happened. He recalled that they had driven through a tunnel, but he didn't expect to have his eyes assaulted by a blinding flash. When he finally regained his vision, he found they were in a forested area. A giant wooden gate stood before the bus. It looked to be something from a few centuries ago. He noted a small group of people were standing at the gate's entrance, and that a blonde-haired boy in the same school uniform that he wore was heading towards the bus. As the blonde entered the vehicle, he noticed that the boy was continually looking towards the people that he had been saying goodbye to. He was frowning, and looked anything but happy to be leaving. Must be from a small town. Probably not happy with the idea of leaving his family. Sukune thought. When the boy finally looked for a spot to sit on the bus, Sukune waved to him. Naruto seemed to look him over before smiling a little and taking a spot across from him. "I'm Sukune Aono." Naruto gave a nod to the boy, Naruto Uzumaki. He looked at the bus a bit before speaking again. "So, any idea where this bus is taking us?" "No clue. I never heard of Youkai Academy before." "You know, as far as I know, we could be heading towards the northern regions of Kumogaka." Sukune's head tilted to the side. Kumo, Gaka. Naruto laughed. "Haha, sorry, it's a small little village north of where I live. Lots of mountains, not much else, hehehe." Sukune gave a look of understanding. Haha, okay. "So, how did you get into this place?" Naruto wanted to say that it was because he had a demon inside of him and needed a safe haven from a bunch of powerful criminals who were after him, but he recalled the excuse Tsunade told him to use. "Oh, well, I heard this place has a good program, and I figured I'd give it a look. It was either that or I'd go and work as a farmer. My grandma says I need to get out and see the world." I hear you. I flunked the high school exams, but somehow this place let me in. Sukune gave a sigh. I just hope it won't be too awkward getting adjusted to this place. I've never lived on my own before. You get used to it. Naruto said absent-mindedly. You lived on your own. Naruto realized his little slip. Why yeah, well, my grandmother lives in a nursing home, and I'm an orphan. I visit her a lot, though, so it's all good. So, were the rest of those people friends of yours? Naruto nodded. Yeah, a few classmates and old teachers. They're staying home. Sukune grinned. Wow, you sound like you live in a pretty isolated area. You could say that. Naruto laughed a little. This Sukune guy seemed alright. Nothing extraordinary about him as far as first impressions go. Apparently Sukune's parents were set on him going to a high school, and he had no other options but this academy. The trip went by quickly with the two boys keeping each other company. Eventually they drove through a rather long tunnel. After they reached the end of the massive road underneath the large hillside and came to a stop, they looked outside to see. Holy crap, where the hell are we? Naruto asked, looking to the blood-red skies. This looks like something out of one of those horror movies that Ero Senin took me to. Sukune was having similar thoughts, and maybe we're just stopping for a rest. Alright, boys. Here's your stop. Better be careful. Youkai Academy is a very scary place. The ominous laughter of the bus driver did not help the duo feel any better about the place. As the bus drove off, the two boys dropped their bags and took in the dreary scenery. Not a single one of these trees has leaves on them. Naruto noted, what kind of messed up place is this? Sukune didn't seem to have an answer. I think they've made a mistake. We can't possibly be at the right place. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you hear about only in ghost stories and such. Naruto reached into a pocket of his school uniform, holding tightly to a kunai he had stashed away just in case something bad happened. The rest of his weapons were stored into scrolls that he didn't have immediate access to. Sukune. I think coming through. Naruto instinctively jumped to the side and rolled just in time to see a girl on a bike crash into Sukune. Part of the blonde felt bad for jumping away and not helping Sukune out back there. But, well, sometimes shinobi reflexes just did that to a person. Naruto ran over to the pair. Are you two alright? Sukune rubbed his head where a nasty gash could be seen, a little blood trickling down his forehead. Yeah, but my head is really hurting right now. The girl let out a gasp. Oh, you've been hurt. She reached into a pocket and pulled out a cloth. I'm sorry for not seeing you. I'm anemic, and my eyesight goes fuzzy sometimes. She sniffed around Sukune a bit before letting out a tiny breath. Oh, that smell. Huh? Sukune asked, his face turning red as the girl leaned in closer to him. Your blood, it smells so wonderful. What are you? I'm sorry, but when I smell blood like this, I can't keep myself under control, the girl continued, drawing even nearer. Naruto, who was watching this whole scene unfold, was unsure whether he should get the girl away from Sukune or give the two some space and leave. He banked on the third option of just watching quietly. You see, the girl went on, nearing his neck, I'm a vampire. The girl, who Naruto noted had beautiful pink hair, not unlike Sakura's, bit down on Sukune's neck and began to suck on the boy's neck. Sukune was freaking out while flailing his arms wildly. Naruto had taken a step back, kunai drawn, but just as unsure of what to do as the dark-haired boy was being drained of blood. Eventually, the girl drew away from Sukune, licking her lips in a cute manner while Sukune had managed to get up, rambling on about being bitten by a vampire and monsters and whatnot. Wait. What? Naruto asked, seeing as Sukune was still a bit delirious from just having his blood drained from him. Why, you mean you're a vampire? Like, live in a coffin, turn into a bat, and hate garlic and cross as vampire? The girl smiled a little. Yes, I am. Well, I don't like garlic, but it's not like it's harmful or anything. I prefer sleeping in a bed, not a coffin, and I don't hate crosses. I wear a rosary, in fact. She explained, pointing to the rosary on her neck. She then turned to Sukune, who had managed to settle down a bit. Thanks for the wonderful treat. It was really tasty. You're welcome. Sukune managed to say, Oh, I'm sorry. The girl apologized, I'm Mocha Akashiya. Sukune Aono. Naruto, who had tucked his kunai away, nodded, Naruto Uzumaki. He looked to see Sukune was staring at the girl with glossy eyes. He couldn't really blame him, the girl was cute. Incredibly cute. A minute or two later, after Sukune got both the bite wound and gash on his head cleaned up and bandaged, the three made their way towards the giant mansion that looked to be straight out of a horror flick. "So, you hate my kind, don't you?" Sukune and Naruto both looked to Mocha. "Huh. Vampires, I mean, you hate them, right?" Naruto and Sukune both looked to each other before forcing out laughs. "Haha, what gave you that idea?" Sukune nodded. "Why yeah, I mean, vampires are pretty unique, so why would we possibly hate them, hey. "Oh, that's great." Mocha beamed, her eyes shining in a way that had the two boys feeling weak at the knees. "If it's not a problem, can we be friends then?" Naruto grinned. "Vampire or not, she seems like a sweet girl. I don't think I'd have the heart to tell her no. Then again, maybe she's just a little nuts in the head and thinks she's a vampire, probably best if I don't bring it up again. She could have rabies or something." Sukune nodded while laughing nervously. "Yeah, of course we can." The three made their way into the school, parting to find their home rooms. Naruto strolled the halls, looking for his designated room. When he managed to find it, he walked in, only to see Sukune seated among the desks. Naruto grinned. "Sukune, hey." The dark-haired boy looked up, and waved. "Naruto. Looks like we have the same homeroom. Neat." Naruto took an open seat to the boy's left, waiting for the rest of the classroom to fill up. The two chatted about the rather odd school. As far as the two saw it, having graveyards around the campus of a school was quite taboo. Naruto knew some cultures honored their long-deceased ancestors, but there had to be a line being crossed here with burying them out in the front of the school. The room was soon full of chatting students when the teacher walked in. The spectacled blonde woman smiled brightly before speaking. "Hello, everyone. Welcome to Youkai Academy. I'm your homeroom teacher, Shizuka Nekonome. Pleased to meet all of you. She seems nice. Maybe this won't be so bad. I mean, if Sukune's here, then at least I'll know a few students here." Naruto thought to himself. Now, even though you all already know this, Youkai Academy is a school for monsters to attend. Nekonome continued. The look on the faces of Naruto and Sukune would have been perfect for a freeze-frame shot to put on a card later. Naruto's face had become something between a grin and a silent scream while Sukune simply went slack-jawed with his right eye twitching a little. "You see, the current situation with Earth is that the humans have gained control of it. As such, we must peacefully coexist with them if we wish to continue to survive. This school will therefore help all of you learn how to do as such and live peacefully along with humans." Nekonome chirped, pointing at a diagram she had drawn on the board showing a circle labeled Earth with humans on it, and the words coexistence circled numerous times. She looked forward again before going on. "Oh, also, the school rules state that you are all to remain in your human forms to properly disguise yourselves. At no time are you to reveal your identities to other students." Monsters. Monsters. Naruto looked around the room, fingers over his jacket pocket where he kept a few kunai. "So, I'm completely surrounded by monsters. Seriously. What? Monsters? What is she talking about? What does she mean by monsters?" Sukune thought as he looked around the classroom. He eyed Naruto, only to see that the blonde wasn't faring much better. He was huddled up a bit, but Sukune could tell that his fellow classmate was just as uninformed about this information. "Hey, teacher, why don't we just eat all the humans instead of bothering with this coexistence crap?" Spoke a tall, rather burly-looking male student in front of the two. "Well, maybe with the women we could." He didn't finish his sentence, instead licking his lips a bit while a few of the other males laughed and the women in the classroom gave disgusted looks. "Sick bastard." The large male turned around while glaring daggers at Naruto. "You say something, punk." Naruto didn't flinch. "Yeah, I didn't stutter, did I? Do you know who you're talking to?" "I don't think you do, you little twerp." The male student stood up and looked to him. "I'm Seizu Komiya, and if you know what's good for you, then you'll shut up and please stop. Let's not have a fight on our first day here." Nekonome spoke out, her face etched with worry. Even if she was the teacher, she didn't really believe she'd have the power to break up a fight between the two boys. The last thing she wanted was someone to get hurt right off the bat. Naruto and Seizu both looked forward before Seizu let out a growl and sat back down, still glaring at the blonde the whole time. Right. Nekonome sighed a bit before going on. On the topic of humans, there are actually no humans on campus. If there were any humans with knowledge of this place, then they would receive death as punishment for discovering this secret and sacred realm. Sukune was feeling a bit faint right now. He was just about ready to try and break up a fight between Naruto and some gigantic guy. Luckily, Nekonome managed to get a hold of things before they escalated. Oh, is this the right classroom? The class turned towards the door, and the majority of the male students all let out gasps, cat calls, whistles, or howls as Mocha Akashiya walked in. She looked around a bit before spotting Sukune and Naruto. Sukune, Naruto. She walked over to the two, and hugged Sukune before taking a seat next to him. She leaned forward to wave to Naruto, who waved back as well, a cheesy grin on his face. Who the hell do those two think they are? She's so beautiful. Why did they get to be treated so nicely? The two boys could feel killer intent being aimed towards them as the boys in the room grumbled about not receiving affections from Mocha. When Nekonome dismissed them for the day to get to know the campus better, the trio set about the halls, following Mocha the whole while. The vampire girl was quite joyful, they noted. She seemed so happy just to be with the two. Naruto noted, however, that her arm was continually holding Sukune's. He didn't get jealous though. He could tell that it wasn't his business. He hardly knew the girl, anyway. He was just glad the two were friendly to him. Naruto, what do you think of this place so far? Mocha asked as she was practically dragging Sukune by the hand as the boy struggled to keep up. Huh. Naruto tapped his chin, it's definitely different from what I'm used to. Sukune laughed, yeah, it's different alright. The two continued down the halls a bit before a figure stepped out in front of them. Naruto looked to see none other than Seizu standing before them, a smug grin on his face. Hey there, Seizu said, his grin directed to Mocha, you must be Mocha Akashiya. I'm Seizu Komiya. Hi. Mocha spoke, waving a little. So, Seizu suddenly picked Sukune up by the collar, glancing at him for a moment before tossing him aside. What's a beautiful girl like you doing hanging out with worthless chumps like these two? He gave Naruto a smirk before looking back to the girl. Well, Naruto and Sukune-kun aren't worthless. You should be spending time with a guy like me. I'm much more fun to hang out with than these two could ever hope to be. What do you say? Mocha looked to Sukune and Naruto before shaking her head. No thanks, but I'm having fun with them right now. You shouldn't waste time on. Naruto was before Seizu in an instant. The hulking teen blinked before looking down at the blonde. What do you want? Mocha just told you she'd rather spend time with us. Naruto spoke, looking up to the man, not flinching as Seizu leered at him. Don't start harassing her about it, Seizu. Mocha helped Sukune up, and tugged on Naruto's uniform. Let's go, Naruto, okay. Naruto nodded, alright, Mocha. He turned around to follow the Rosette and Sukune, but not before shooting Seizu a look clearly warning him to back off. Seizu growled a bit before looking to Mocha again. His frown soon became a smile though. He chuckled deeply. There was no way he would allow such a lovely young girl to escape his grasp. Not if he could help it. Naruto and Sukune had lunch with Mocha before they left to go to their dorms. Naruto and Sukune found that the theme of tombstones, dead trees, and the ever-present feeling of cliché horror film continued with the students' homes. I'm not sure that it's right to bury your dead in the front of a living hall. Sukune spoke in a hushed tone. You ever hear of this before, Naruto? No. Our dead are usually burned or buried in a cemetery in our village. So, Sukune began as he looked down the hall. You think this monster stuff that our teacher was going on about is possibly true? Naruto shook his head. I really don't know. I mean, it makes sense, in a way. Mocha biting you and saying she's a vampire. Well, Sukune looked around a second time. I'm a human. Naruto's eyes widened before he smiled, a look of relief on his face. Seriously. Oh, good. I was worried for a minute that if I was alone here. He paused while assuming a confused look. I wonder if Ba-chan knew about this. So, you're human too? Sukune asked tentatively. Naruto gave a quick nod. Yeah, just a human being. Not a single bit of vampire or troll or whatever in me. He scratched his head a bit. I still don't understand why she would send me here if she knew the risk I was being put in. My dad just said he found a pamphlet for this school by pure chance. He said that some creepy guy walking by dropped it. Sukune tapped his chin, not really a good choice on his part. So, what do we do? We're not monsters, Naruto asked. Well, he wasn't a monster, but he did hold a demon within him. He had long come to grips with the Kyuubi being a part of him. He was a Jinchuuriki, a human with a demon inside him. I don't know. I don't want to get caught. Sukune spoke. I mean, just imagine what would happen if we get found out. Naruto gave a nod of agreement. Yeah. I'm not too thrilled about the idea of being killed for finding out about this place. I think I may give the school a withdrawal notice. Sukune stated quietly. Really? Yeah. This place isn't for me to begin with. Sukune looked to Naruto. You should do the same. Well, I can't. I have different circumstances, I guess. Sukune decided to not cry. Oh. Thinking about it made him think about Mocha. He hardly knew the girl, but something about her just drew the boy to her. He wasn't sure what, but it was bothering him. Not only that, but Naruto was a genuinely cool guy from what he'd taken in. Maybe he'd give this place a day before deciding to leave. Maybe the monster thing was just a weird little prank to play on the first-year students. He shrugged his shoulders. I guess I can trust you enough, but you're not going to tell anyone that I'm human, are you? Naruto smiled. Only if you promise not to tell on me as well. Sure. Awesome. Naruto gave the boy a nod. So, what should we do now? I don't know. Sukune responded with uncertainty. I mean, we can probably just pretend to be monsters. I mean, technically no one can reveal their true identities, right? Yeah, that's true. Naruto could pull this off. He was a shinobi, after all. Deception was a key element to being a ninja. Naruto preferred being upfront about things, but this was something different. This wasn't a normal mission. This was something that would ensure he wouldn't be found by Akatsuki. He had to blend in. Sukune and Naruto ended up finding their rooms in the dorm to be only a short distance from each other within the same wing. Naruto took the key to his room and unlocked his door. Dumping his backpack, he took in the condition of his room, and gave an approving nod. At least there's no spiderwebs or anything like that. The blonde decided to go for a stroll through the campus to get a good look at the place. After all, he wanted to find out where he could train without being seen, and to do so meant knowing where all the public buildings were located. He was strolling through by a randomly placed cemetery when he heard something. Stopping, he listened and tried to make out the sound. A voice. Somewhere further in the cemetery. It sounded like crying. He headed towards what sounded like a girl crying. About a minute's worth of walking found him stopping near a small clearing in a wooded area bordering the cemetery. He looked, and sure enough it was a girl crying. She appeared to be holding her ankle, and looked to be in mild pain. Are you okay? Naruto called out. The girl let out a gasp as she turned towards Naruto. The girl looked up, her eyes wide as she took in the boy before her. Naruto noted that she had the faintest hue of purple in her irises as she made eye contact with him. Her hair was a bright blue, and she wore a yellow sweater vest over the standard school undershirt. Among other things, her physical figure was clearly like that of a certain Godime Hokage, very well endowed. Her eyes lit up. Oh. You scared me. I was just walking around, and I tripped over a root. I think I sprained my ankle. Do you think you could help me? Naruto felt himself becoming entranced as her eyes met with his. Why yeah, I suppose. I'm new here, though, so I'm not too familiar with the campus. The girl smiled. I guess that makes two of us. She got up and took his hand. I'm Kurumi. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. He grinned. I think I know the way out of here, so just stay with me. Helping her up gently, he helped her walk out of the woods.
I need help!
He had insisted on carrying her, but she waved a hand, assuring him she was capable of using at least one of her feet. Sure enough, in only a minute's time the two were leaving the woods and heading towards campus. Say, Kurumu, what were you doing out in the woods anyway? Kurumu looked to the blonde while smiling. Oh, I just wanted to get some fresh air. That's all. Her smile dropped a bit. I guess I wasn't paying attention. Oh, Naruto noted that she had somehow managed to slip both her arms around his. So, what do you think of the academy so far? Oh, I love it here. All the boys are so nice to me. It's hard to be popular though. She giggled, none of them have ever helped me like you though. It's really sweet of you. She winked cutely while Naruto felt his face flush a little while he sported his trademark grin. Hehehe, I'm just helping someone in need. Think nothing of it. The two managed to get Kurumu to the nurse's office near the campus. After waiting for about 10 minutes, the girl walked out of the office with a pair of crutches. So, how bad is it? Naruto asked as she walked over to him. She smiled, it's not serious. Just a minor sprain. I should be able to walk in a few days as long as I take it easy on the foot. That's good. Naruto sighed, so, I guess I'll be seeing you around. Kurumu nodded. Yeah, it was nice meeting you, Naruto-kun. The girl walked down the road back to the girls' dorms, Naruto watching her for a short while before making his way back to his own dorm. Wow, she sure is pretty. Naruto thought, I almost felt like I was in a genjutsu when I was looking into her eyes. Shaking his head and chuckling, Naruto reminded himself that these students weren't ninja monsters. Well, he wasn't sure on that, but he remembered Tsunade stating that the students here didn't use chakra like he did. Keeping that in mind, Naruto headed up the stairs to his floor. Maybe this place wasn't so bad. He'd just have to see after classes started what this place would be like for him. As Naruto neared his room, he saw that Sukune's door was open. He knocked on the open door, and Sukune, who was sitting on his bed with a paper in his hand, looked up. Hey, Naruto. Sukune greeted glumly. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What's up, Sukune? Sukune placed the paper on top of the dresser by his bed. I'm thinking of filling this out. Naruto frowned. Really? The blonde looked to the paper on the dresser labeled, withdrawal notification. Yeah, I think we'll be safer if I'm not here. I ran into Mocha, and she told me a bit more about her being a vampire. Apparently that rosary around her neck seals away her true form. She says her true form is really scary and evil, though I think she was joking with the evil part. Naruto laughed a bit. She sure has taken a liking to you. I'd be hard-pressed to leave if I was you, haha. Sukune smiled a bit. Yeah. She's really nice, even if she hardly knows me. He shook his head. She bit me again and drank my blood. I think she's telling the truth about the whole vampire thing. The Jinchuuriki chuckled a bit. Sexy. Sukune frowned at Naruto's teasing. Yeah, well, after that happened I ran into that Seizu guy you were arguing with in class today. He said I better stay away from Mocha or he'd make me pay. What did you say? The blonde asked, all joking gone from his voice. Well, he asked what kind of monster I am, and well. Naruto didn't like the pause. Well, what? I said I was a vampire. Naruto cocked his head to the side. Wait, you said you were a vampire. Sukune nodded. Why yeah. He got really pissed. He looked ready to kill me or something, but left saying I should stay away from Mocha or else he'd end me. You aren't seriously going to let him bully you like that, are you? Well, he is big, and he could snap me like a twig. His arm got all weird and muscular too. I think that maybe he was letting some of his true self appear. It shattered a hole in a stone wall when he punched it. Sukune, you can't let guys like that push you around, otherwise they'll just keep doing it. Naruto sighed. He punched through a stone wall. Yeah, well, when someone gets on your case like that, there's only one thing you can do. Sukune's expression became one of confusion. There is. What? Kick their ass, that's what. Naruto crowed, punching his fist. Even if they beat you up, they'll leave you alone because you stood up to them. Bullies like that tend to just bother those that don't stand up for themselves. I bet if you had decked him in the jaw, he would have probably left you alone. He looked like he was ready to rip my head off. Sukune murmured, I got a bad feeling about that guy. Naruto decided not to press further on the matter. It was Sukune's choice, after all. Well, just don't make the decision because of Seizu. If he gives you any more trouble, I'll be there to help you, alright? Hey, thanks, Naruto. Sukune smiled a little. I'll think about it. I have until the end of the day to decide on this. It's only 2:30, so I've got time. The boy decided to change the subject. So, where did you go? Naruto proceeded to tell Sukune about his little walk around campus, and how he ran into a super cute girl in the woods outside of school. As he described the girl to him, Sukune couldn't help but feel a little jealous. Hey, I got to admit, Naruto, I'm jealous. Maybe you'll luck out and have her in a class. The blonde chuckled. I doubt it. I mean, she said she's super popular, and I was never the kind of guy to attract attention from those kinds of girls. Well, at least I was never one to attract the good kind of attention from them. The two talked for a bit longer before Naruto left, stating he wanted to get his room organized. Sukune found himself once again looking at the withdrawal notice for Youkai Academy. Two sides presented themselves to the boy. On one hand, if he left the academy, he'd be safely back at home.
The light show!
No scary freaks attacking him and punching holes in walls. He wouldn't have to deal with the creepy atmosphere of the school and risk being found out. However, he wouldn't be able to see Mocha anymore, and that was a real downside in his opinion. He found that he wanted to know her better. That, and Naruto seemed to be a real cool guy. He didn't have many good friends back home, and he had found himself hitting it off well with the charismatic blonde. On the other hand, if Sukune stayed, he'd have to deal with Seizu, as well as all the other negatives of being here. He'd be possibly risking his life, and he didn't like the idea of being killed very much. Still, he'd be able to spend time with Mocha and Naruto, who was also a human like him. I want to make friends, but I don't know if it's safe here. Sukune mumbled. Taking a final look at the pamphlet, he let out a held breath and looked out the window of his dorm room. It was probably going on to 3. He got up and picked up his travel bag before leaving the room, his mind made up. Naruto took a good look at his room, grinning triumphantly at the small feat he had made in organizing his new living space. Tsunade would have been proud. He even put on fresh sheets. I wonder if the bed's too big. Naruto mused while scratching his chin. The bed took up roughly a third of his entire room. He loved his bed though, having switched out the one provided by the dorms for his own. It was much nicer, and from what he read in the student handbook, there were no rules against doing such. Flopping onto the giant bed, he sighed in contentment. The bed reminded him of his rather cramped living space he had back in Konoha. Of the wonderful view he had outside his window, and the way the sun shined down on the small village in the morning during the spring. He could picture the birds flying through the sky as he shook his head, feeling the familiar sadness creeping up on him. No sense in dwelling on things that couldn't be helped. He was on a mission, in a way. A mission to preserve himself from danger. If he screwed this up, well, then Konoha, along with the other elemental countries, would be screwed. I wonder if the cafeteria is open right now. Naruto thought aloud. Hopping off his bed, he left his room, locking his door and exiting the residence hall. He tried to recall the mess hall's location, and after 2 minutes of reaching no answer in his mind, gave up and decided to wing it. He'd run into it eventually. Yo, Sukune, are you alright? Naruto's head whipped around towards a small graveyard. He hopped over a stone fence, and looked around. He recognized that voice. Mocha. Naruto spoke, seeing the vampire girl cradling a boy that appeared to be Sukune in her arms. That wasn't what had the majority of his attention though. He had no clue what the hell it was, but there was a hulking figure standing over the two, muscles covering every square inch of its body. It seemed to be closing in on Mocha, laughing as she struggled to protect the fallen form of Sukune while trying to keep away from the beast. Naruto dug into a pocket, and pulled out a small scroll. He nodded to himself before pulling out his Hitai ITE from one of his pocket and taking out his school uniform. He'd been hoping to get a workout in today anyway. May as well take advantage of the situation. Mocha trembled as the rank breath of Seizu washed over her. Looking down to Sukune, she spoke quietly, Sukune, I'm so sorry. I didn't want this to happen to you, even if you are a human. She sobbed quietly. I think that, even with all the trouble I've had with humans in the human world, all I ever wanted was to make a true friend. Sukune coughed a bit, blood dribbling down his chin from the rather powerful strike Seizu had dealt him while in his true form. Mocha, I know that I may not be much as far as guys go. I also know that it was wrong of me to get angry at you and storm off to leave Youkai Academy like that. He breathed quietly while opening his eyes a little, The truth is, Mocha, I want to be your friend too. Mocha's eyes widened as she took in a sharp breath. He wanted to be friends with her, even if they were different. She sniffled a bit. Thank you, Sukune. That means a lot to me. Hey, are you still crying over that wimp? Seizu laughed, walking over to the pair, his tongue hanging out of his mouth a bit. Mocha, don't you see that I'm the only guy for you? Even if you don't like it, I'm going to have my way with you. He sneered as she backed away a bit while holding Sukune close to her. This is going to be a fun little violation of school rules, haha. Please just leave us alone, Seizu. This is just horrible, what you're doing, and Floosh, schluck, gah, son of a bitch. Seizu roared in pain as he yanked an odd object out of his right shoulder. He studied it for a moment before raising an eyebrow. What the hell is this? It's almost like one of those ninja throwing stars. It's called a demon wind shuriken, dumbass. Seizu and Mocha both looked up to a tree where the voice seemed to be coming from. A figure could be standing on one of the larger limbs of the dead tree, another one of the large projectile weapons in hand. You bastard. I was wondering if I'd run into you again. Naruto hopped down from the tree, school jacket tied around his waist and Hitai Ite tied around his forehead. Yeah, and I told you to stop harassing Mocha-chan. Now you go and injure one of my friends and attempt to something like that to Mocha. Naruto got into a ready stance. Look, I don't know what you think the proper way to treat a lady is, but rape and abuse are definitely not on my top 5. Shut up. Seizu growled, cocking back a fist. I'm going to crush you once and for all. Naruto hopped to the side, flipping back and pushing off the ground with a single hand while chucking the other shuriken in his other hand. Seizu managed to sidestep the projectile, sustaining only a minor cut on his arm. He glared at the blonde while Naruto just stood in place, pulling a kunai out of his pant pocket. You know, Seizu, maybe if you weren't so bulky you'd be able to land a hit on me. I said shut the hell up. Mocha watched in horror as Seizu stampeded towards her only other friend on campus. She cried out his name while trying to help Sukune out. Mocha, Sukune, just hold on, I'm going to get us. Sukune's hand grasped her shoulder weakly. I'm sorry I couldn't help more. Looks like Naruto's got this under control. His shoulder began to slide off her shoulder. Why you should get out of here. The boy's hand slipped around her rosary, and gripped it tightly. Sukune, just rest, wheel. Snap. Naruto froze in place for a moment, feeling a powerful and rather unsettling presence suddenly make itself known to him. It was different from chakra, though he sensed some powerful killer intent behind it. Turning around for a moment, he noted that Mocha and Sukune were unharmed, though. What happened to Mocha's hair? Naruto questioned. Naruto's question was answered by the very person he was fighting, and no way. Mocha's a vampire. He growled, looking back to Naruto. Damn it. I'll finish you off first, then take care of her. The gargantuan monster charged straight towards Naruto, intent on obliterating the blonde with his immense power. Naruto just shifted his footing a bit while smirking a little. This guy was too predictable. Charging straight towards him. Rookie mistake. Naruto was behind Seizu a second later, kunai still in hand. Seizu stopped his running, falling to his knees as blood spurted out of both his shoulders. His arms hung limply at his sides, not responding as he tried to move them. What the hell did you do to my arms? Naruto just shrugged. I guess I cut into a tendon or something. Seizu snapped. Damn you. Naruto frowned, charging again. A second Naruto appeared out of thin air. The two blondes formed a glowing ball in their hands, which began to spin wildly, the blue light spiraling at high speeds as the Naruto shadow clone vanished. Seizu reared back a foot to nail Naruto in the jaw with a well-placed kick. The blonde ran at the monster while pulling back the arm holding his Rasengan. Eat this, jerk. Rasengan. Seizu was blasted back by a blinding flash of blue light. He felt something akin to being hit by a speeding car hit him in the chest as he crashed through several trees in a grave or two. Naruto smirked as his opponent groaned in pain. Walking towards the crumpled heap, the blonde sighed. Are you done now, Seizu? I didn't even put half of what I could have into that attack. Just give it up already. The shinobi question was answered by a bellowing roar from the gigantic beast. Seizu jumped up, raising a foot to squash the blonde before him. Naruto was ready to make a quick kawarimi, but the need never came. A flash of silver and green leapt in front of Naruto. I'll finish this, Naruto. Huh. Naruto looked to the one who had interrupted their fight. Even Seizu had paused in his attack, standing lopsidedly with one foot raised in the air. Mocha. Is that you? Mocha turned to the blonde, her blazing irises locking with his sapphire ones. You seem to be surprised. Did you expect anything different from a vampire? Her fanged smirk sent a chill down his spine, but it wasn't an entirely bad one. Mocha turned back to Seizu, her voice icy cold. You thought you could get away with trying to violate my more sentimental self, did you? TCH, looks like I'll have to rough you up first, huh? Fine by me. Vampire or not, it makes no difference to me. Mocha's reply was a quick and rather devastating snap kick to Seizu, followed up by an elbow to the gut, and a powerful knee to the jaw. The monster flew through the air a second time, smashing into several dead trees before crashing into yet another tombstone. He didn't get up this time, having been knocked unconscious. After confirming to himself that Seizu had been knocked out, Naruto took off his headband and stuffed it into his pocket, then put his school uniform back on after dusting himself off a bit. The blonde's attention now fell upon the form of Mocha. Her hair had changed from its bright pink color to a shining silver color. Her eyes were a deep red, and her fangs seemed a bit more pronounced. Not only that, but she seemed to be a bit more developed. Are you guys alright? Naruto asked as Mocha walked over Sukune, helping the slowly awakening boy sit upright. Yes, I'm unharmed. Mocha spoke, her voice a bit deeper, going along well with her slightly matured appearance. She took a few steps forward while her eyes scanned over Naruto. You fight quite well. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck, grinning with a low chuckle. Hey, thanks Mocha-chan. By the way, Mocha's face remained neutral as she stared at Naruto expectantly. Yes. What happened to you? Your hair is silver, and you look, well, older. Mocha scoffed lightly. The Mocha that you're familiar with is the Mocha that has her power suppressed. This is my true form. Naruto didn't flinch as her aura seemed to grow more powerful. So you are a vampire. Sukune was right about your rosary. He smirked. I really don't want to have to fight you too. You're not going to attack me or anything, are you? Mocha's eyes narrowed while a frown marred her features. What makes you think I would go and attack you without reason? Even so, you wouldn't stand a chance in a fight with me. It'd simply be an unfair match. I won't disgrace myself by fighting someone at your level. You just said I fight well, didn't you? Naruto retorted, folding his arms with a stubborn expression on his features. Yes, you fight well for someone who isn't a vampire and is in their human disguise. Mocha clarified, understand this, Naruto Uzumaki, I am not like my gentler half. Don't coddle me and try to protect me. Oi, for the record, I was fighting because Sukune almost got killed, and you weren't doing anything for the longest time. Naruto didn't know what to make of this other half of Mocha. She was a polar opposite of the Mocha he knew. This Mocha almost seemed to be looking down on him. HMPH. Regardless, the fact is that Sukune, being a human, wasn't able to properly defend himself against a monster like that wretch named Seizu. My sleeping self isn't able to access the powers that I have. Rosaries have that kind of effect on vampires, after all. Wait. Naruto took a step forward. How do you know about Sukune and him being human? Mocha rolled her eyes. Simple. He told me. Oh, well, never mind then. Naruto loosened up again, feeling it safe enough to let his guard down. He looked to Mocha, who was still looking to the blonde with an even gaze. Do I even get a thank you? Naruto grumbled. By now, Sukune was standing up, and had caught most of what was said between the two. He was still shocked by the sharp contrast between this Mocha and the one he had first met. Mocha-san, I'm sorry that I couldn't protect you. Sukune said quietly. Mocha turned to the boy before shaking her head. Don't waste your breath on apologies, you're just a human, after all. No ordinary human would be able to stand up to a monster. You're brave, if anything, to stand up to such a beast like Seizu. She leaned closer to him. Don't let that go to your head though. Mocha raised an eyebrow as she noted the timidness of Sukune as he watched her every movement. You're scared of this form, aren't you? The grin didn't help hide her amusement. Well, she ran a hand down his cheek before continuing, don't worry. I have only just woken up, and I'm still quite tired. She picked the rosary out of Sukune's hands. Besides, I wouldn't dare hurt the person who my sleeping self seems to treasure the blood of. Okay. Sukune gulped as she pulled her hand away from his cheek. I guess that's good to hear. Very well, Mocha spoke. Until we meet again, you two had best babysit the more sentimental Mocha. Mocha pressed the rosary to her broken necklace chain, and it fused back onto her chain. Mocha's hair changed back to its pink coloring, and Mocha's physique also became more youthful. Her eyes closed as she fell forward, Sukune catching her as she passed out. Sukune began, Naruto, could you help me? Yeah, I suppose we ought to get out of here. Last thing we need is a crowd wondering who did all this damage. The young shinobi replied, helping Sukune carry Mocha to her dorm. It had been 5 days since the trio's encounter with Seizu. Naruto, Sukune, and Mocha quickly fell into the swing of things with classes. Naruto unfortunately had no prior experience with some of the subjects such as modern world history. There was no mentioning of the Great Shinobi Wars or the rise of the elemental nations. Apparently this human world had gone through 2 devastating world wars of their own, though. The human world had advanced computer systems that allowed people from different sides of the globe to communicate, and phones that could fit into a person's pocket even. Naruto had a hard time absorbing it all. It was a hard pill to swallow knowing that the most advanced wireless radios used by Anbu in Konoha were considered obsolete almost a decade ago in this world. He took it all in stride nevertheless. Naruto Uzumaki, are you listening? Naruto looked up. Naruto looked to the board, noting that Ririko-sensei had scribbled a rather complex formula on the board. Well, I'm still solving it, Ririko-sensei. Ririko gave a small smile. Naruto, if you need help studying, you know that I offer tutelage after school. Naruto waved a hand, doodling a picture of a dragon blowing flames while pretending to try and solve the formula. I know. Ririko Kagome sighed as the bell rang. All right, class, remember to do problems 15 through 70, odds only. I want to see work, too, so be sure to indicate how you solve them. The homework will be due by the end of the week. Naruto yawned as he walked down the halls. Sukune and Mocha caught up with him in short time. Naruto-kun, you know that Sukune and I offered to study with you last night. That problem was in the practice problems for today, and you would have known them if you. Don't worry about it, Mocha-chan. Math is just boring for me. I'd rather just go to gym class all day or read some of those cool fantasy novels that Nekonome-sensei suggested, the blonde replied. Sukune nodded. It's a good thing that Ririko-sensei is a nice teacher. I suppose. Naruto shrugged. Well, I have gym. I'll see you guys later. Naruto had gym class separately from Mocha and Sukune. It was fun though, especially since they started the first class with a game called dodgeball. Apparently the whole point of the game was to throw rubber balls at people and make sure you don't get hit. Easy enough. Damn it, can't someone hit Uzumaki already? Yelled one of the boys on the opposite team. So far the opposing team had managed to take out almost 80% of Naruto's team, leaving the blonde and the one other decent student on his team to fend for themselves. Mizore-chan, duck. The purple-haired girl who was standing behind Naruto did so without a second thought, and the young shinobi chucked the ball in his hands for all it was worth. One unfortunate girl screamed as the ball rocketed into her stomach, sending her back before she fell over. Mizore smiled a bit. Nice throw, Naruto. Hey, thanks, Mizore-chan. You got a good arm yourself. Naruto replied. He decided that the soft-spoken girl was cool in his book. She wasn't timid though, seeing as she had managed to take out almost every person who tried to get her out. About 2 minutes later found Naruto and Mizore standing off against only 4 students, the other 6 having been taken out. I've got the redhead. Mizore spoke softly, holding a dodgeball in her hands. Naruto laughed. Fine, I'll get the big guy with the messy bangs and freckles. You mean the lanky one? Yeah, fair enough. Cover me. Mizore said with a faint smile, same as before. Sure thing. Naruto picked up a second ball that had bounced over to their side of the court. Mizore dashed to the center line, and slid forwards while ducking under a dodge ball. A second one came flying at her, too fast for her to avoid. Out of the side of her vision, another ball came flying and hit the incoming projectile, sending it harmlessly away from Mizore. Dang it, Uzumaki did it again, shouted the boy who almost took Mizore out of the game. Now, Mizore, Naruto shouted. The girl took that as her cue, and threw the ball at the red-headed girl on the opposing team. It hit the girl in the foot, causing her to fall forward. Naruto quickly followed up by chucking his ball at his designated target. The boy screamed as the ball smacked him square in the chest before bouncing off and smacking one of his teammates in the back. Haha, 2 for 1, Naruto cheered while pumping a fist. A single girl stood on the opposing side, looking awestruck at how gracefully the two had managed to take out 3 of her teammates. Just 3 minutes ago, they had outnumbered them 8-2. I'll finish this, Mizore spoke, picking up a ball that rolled over their side of the court. Naruto pouted, come on. You got last out yesterday too. I know. Mizore smiled teasingly, you got to take out the first 4 anyway. Naruto grumbled as Mizore quickly dispatched the girl via ball to the arm as she tried to dive out of the way. Alright, students. Looks like Team A wins, again, the gym teacher, Katsubo Okuto, spoke. Naruto laughed, yeah, we rock, Mizore-chan. Mizore blushed a bit, yeah. You seem to get a bit carried away with these games though, Naruto. It's just gym class. Naruto shrugged while still grinning like it was going out of style. Haha, maybe, but I can't help but love this class. I love running around and just whooping everyone else. Mizore rolled her eyes, the impish smile still on her face, I can tell. Naruto, you have quite the talent for athletics. Huh, oh, thanks Okuto-sensei. Haha, I just do what I can. Okuto grinned, I can see that. I'm actually looking for new students athletes, and I think you'd be right at home in the athletics department. Really? I don't really know many of the sports aside from soccer, to be perfectly honest. Naruto scratched his neck while giving a sheepish grin, my home didn't have many sports like this. That's fine, but if you ever feel like joining a sport, just come talk to me. Katsubo spoke, alright, class. That's it for today. Naruto turned back to speak to Mizore, only to see her already heading back to the girls' locker room. He frowned, but decided not to make a big deal of it. He could always talk to her next time in class. In the locker room, most of the guys avoided Naruto as much as possible. Some were whispering words like, vampire, and strong, and beat up Seizu. Naruto took it in stride. Besides, it kept any jerks away that were afraid of getting the tar beaten out of them. Naruto, don't tell me you forgot to add the yeast. Haha, if I said, no, would you not get mad at me? Kurumu sighed before looking at the flat loaf of bread. Naruto, this isn't what we were supposed to do. Yeast helps bread rise, and if it doesn't rise, it won't be as big enough. Puffy, Naruto suggested, earning a flat look from the blue-haired girl. Kurumu honestly didn't mind Naruto. They got to have class twice a week together, and while he was a very kind person, he was probably capable of actually burning water if Kurumu left him to his own devices. Still, he had helped her get to the hospital to get her ankle taken care of, and while he wasn't a total moron, he had his embarrassing moments. So, being the merciful and benevolent woman that she was, she chose him for a partner after seeing him fail utterly in trying to steal potatoes. Kurumu, Naruto, did you make this? The home economics teacher looked at the piece of flat bread lying on the baking tray while Kurumu smiled nervously. Why yes, sensei. We were planning on flat bread, an unusual but interesting choice. You two get an A for today. Not too many would stray away from the usual bread and boring dishes, but flat bread could prove to be quite a nice side dish for a home-cooked meal. Great work. The teacher finished. She nodded, handing them a paper with a big A on their assignment sheet for the day. Did that just happen? Naruto asked. Kurumu looked to Naruto before laughing. Naruto, your mistake helped us. She grinned. So, shall we try some of the bread? After eating the fruits of their labor, Naruto and Kurumu left the classroom as the bell rang. The two were both done with classes for the day, which was kind of nice for the blonde. He truthfully wanted to get to know the blue-haired girl better, and now was as good an opportunity as any. So, how's your ankle? Kurumu smiled while moving her ankle in a small circle. It's healed up.
Injured!
Thanks again for helping me back then. Naruto gave her a thumbs up. Not a problem, Kurumu-chan. That's what friends do for each other. The two were quiet for a while after that. Kurumu eventually interrupted their comfortable silence with a question. Hey, Naruto.
Give me a hand!
You know that Mocha Akashiya girl, right? Naruto turned to his side to see Kurumu giving him a curious look. Mocha-chan. Yeah, sure. She's a pretty nice girl, and she's friends with me and Sukune. What about her? Kurumu smiled a bit. Oh, nothing. It's just, she seems really close to Sukune, doesn't she? Is she friends with Sukune, too? She seems like she's familiar with him by the way she's addressing him. Naruto laughed. Haha, I suppose. They have a lot of classes together though too, so I suppose they would be pretty close, right? It's not fair. Kurumu blurted out. Naruto jumped a bit at the sudden outburst. What's not fair? Kurumu turned to Naruto, her eyes showing clear signs of anger, Mocha, and how she's loved by everyone. Well, I don't know about that. It's true. She's getting in the way of things. Naruto was unsure of what to make of Kurumu's sudden anger. What thing? Kurumu's eyes widened, and she looked away nervously. Well, I guess what? She sighed. Never mind, Naruto-kun. Naruto wouldn't have any of that. Kurumu-chan, come on. We're friends. Tell me what the problem is. I'm sure that whatever it is, you can resolve it if you just talk to Mocha. She's a really nice girl, and I'm sure that if you told her what was on your mind she'd be willing to. Naruto, would you be willing to help me? The young shinobi was caught off guard. Help you? Yeah, what do you need? Kurumu bit on her lower lip, unsure of what to say. I don't want to do this to Naruto. He's a genuinely nice guy, but she thought of how Mocha had so many admirers while she had to charm all of the boys who followed her with her powers. It will just be this once. I won't do anything too drastic or serious with him. He won't remember any of it. Naruto. Yeah. Kurumu smiled a bit while her eyes seemed to almost glow. Thank you. Naruto suddenly felt dizzy, and his vision blurred a bit. Sukune, let me suck your blood. Please. It's so delicious, I think I'm becoming addicted to it. Mocha said playfully as Sukune laughed nervously. Mocha, you just drank my blood this morning. Don't you think you've had enough? No, it's so delectable. High grade, too. A full flavor, rich in vitamins, and a balance of minerals as well. You should be proud. Mocha stated matter-of-factly, so can I please drink your blood? Is that all I am, Mocha? Food. Sukune sighed. What do you mean, Sukune? Mocha asked, her smile dropping as she sensed Sukune's change in mood. Why are you always? Aha, there you are, Mocha Akashiya. Mocha and Sukune stopped what they were doing, the duo turning down the hall to see a blue-haired girl standing in the middle of the hallway behind them. Sukune raised an eyebrow. Who are you? Kurumu smiled. I'm Kurumu Corona. The most beautiful girl in all of Youkai Academy. Hello. Mocha greeted, still unsure what to make of the situation. I already know who you are, Mocha Akashiya. Kurumu growled. You're the reason my plan to make the entire male population of this school my own personal harem isn't working. You're stealing their attention. I have no idea what you're talking about. Mocha replied, shaking her head. Listen, I'm sure there's some sort of misunderstanding here. Why don't we just talk this over? Kurumu walked over to Mocha, leaning in close. Hey, don't think you'll weasel out of this one, Mocha. I know about your little secret. My secret. Mocha repeated. Kurumu smirked. That's right. You're a vampire. She grinned as Mocha's eyes widened a little. I've also noted that Sukune-kun here has a rather pleasant scent himself. No, you don't mean. Kurumu laughed a little. Yes. I know that Sukune-kun here is actually, she lowered her voice to a whisper, a human. Sukune took a step back while Mocha stood beside him. You don't know that for sure. What makes you think that he's a human? Kurumu stood right before the rosette, her shorter height becoming quite evident. Oh please, I can see right off the bat that you're just using Sukune-kun for his blood, aren't you? That's not true, admit it. You're just using him, Mocha Akashiya. Kurumu pointed a finger accusingly, drawing a small crowd. I bet that's exactly the case. Mocha turned to Kurumu. Sukune, that's not true at all, believe me. I would never do that to you. Sukune raised a hand between the two girls. I'm sure there's some sort of way we can resolve this without a quarrel. Kurumu smiled. Ah, you're right, Sukune. I didn't mean to cause all this trouble, but I can't stand seeing her treat you like this. She glommed him and looked into his eyes. You're truly a nice boy. Sukune started to feel dizzy, and could not remove his eyes from the blue-haired girls. Sukune, are you alright? Mocha asked. Sukune looked to Mocha, his vision a bit out of focus. I don't know, Mocha. With all the blood you keep draining from me, I guess I'm not surprised to be feeling a bit ill. He smiled a bit. I think it would be best if you just stay away from me, Mocha. Mocha's eyes widened. What? Sukune-kun, I don't know. Kurumu wrapped her arms around the boy while smirking. Why don't you just leave Sukune alone, Mocha? He said it himself. He's not feeling well, and with the way you just drained blood from him like water, he's bound to feel pain. She looked up to the boy with a distressed look. Come on, Sukune, we'll take you to the infirmary right away. Mocha felt tears pricking her eyes as she watched Sukune leave suddenly with Kurumu. He hardly knew her. Turning on her heel, Mocha dashed down the hall, rivulets of salty water running down her cheeks. Sukune shook his head as he sat on the bed in the infirmary. He recalled saying things to Mocha that he was pretty sure he never would have wanted to utter to her. He recalled her running off down the hall, and crying. More or less, Sukune felt like a major S right now. Sukune-kun, I know you must be hurting right now. Sukune looked to the girl sitting on his bedside, Kurumu-chan. Kurumu was now sitting on his lap, running a gentle hand through his hair. It's okay, Sukune. I'll make you feel better now. What is she doing? Sukune found himself entranced by her eyes yet again. It feels like everything is spinning. What's with those eyes of hers? Kurumu was practically cheering to herself. Finally. That broken ankle slowed me down for a while, but I finally managed to get that Mocha to cry. Now I've just got to kiss Sukune, and he'll be my servant as long as I wish. Mocha sat on the steps outside of the main building. She couldn't help but think of what Sukune had said. Maybe she really was treating Sukune badly. Maybe she was just using him for a free food source. How naive. Mocha looked around, then to the rosary around her neck. Who's there? I'm in here. I'm the part of you sealed away inside this rosary. Replied the voice once more. Mocha looked to see a single glowing red eye in the center of the cross. Listen to me, Sukune is being tricked by that girl. She's a succubus, and her powers involve charming other males into becoming her mindless servants. Wait, say you mean to tell me that Sukune-kun was under a spell? A light bulb went on in her head. Oh. Kurumu was trying to make me think that Sukune was saying those things to me, wasn't she? Precisely. If you don't hurry to the infirmary, she'll kiss him. For some reason or another, that just didn't settle well with Mocha. She'll what? Just as I said, the succubus's kiss has the power to turn whomever she kisses into her personal slave. Mocha got up. I understand. I have to hurry. With that, the vampire girl dashed as fast as she could to the hospital, intent on setting things right. She made it to the hospital as quickly as possible, and asked the nurse where Sukune's room was. She dashed down the hall, and just as she was turning the corner, a figure stepped out in front of her. Mocha bumped into the person, obviously male, and looked up. Oh, I'm sorry, I was just Naruto. Hello, Mocha-chan, you're in a real hurry. Naruto spoke as he put a hand on either of the vampire girl's shoulders. Something wrong. Naruto-kun, Sukune's in real trouble. I have to find him before. Naruto laughed. Relax, Mocha-chan. Sukune's fine. I just checked on him a little while ago. I saw him heading to the hospital, so I decided to see what's wrong. He was just feeling a little weak. He looked sickly. He grinned. I think he needs some rest. He's okay. Mocha inquired. Yeah, he just felt tired. Naruto replied. Oh, well, then I suppose I should leave him be. She looked to the blonde, and noted his eyes were almost out of focus. He seemed to be looking through Mocha as he spoke to her. Naruto-kun, are you alright? Yeah, never been better. Why? That succubus has him under her spell too. She's probably got him here to make sure there's no trouble for her. Mocha heard her inner self's voice echo in her mind. Mocha took a step back, her eyes looking over Naruto. Naruto-kun, I want to see Sukune. I have to talk to him about a few things that are really important. Naruto's smile slipped a little. Do you think that could wait until later? He seemed very sleepy. I think he said something about you making him feel drained. Naruto-kun, did you see Kurumu Kurono by any chance today? Naruto's smile was now an unreadable expression. He chuckled. Mocha-chan, if you plan on getting involved with Kurumu-chan's plans, I'll have to stop you. Let me through, Naruto-kun. I know you're under her charm. What charm? Naruto asked, clenching a fist a bit. Kurumu-chan's going to make this entire school's male population her personal harem. He let a grin creep onto his features. In order to do so, she has to keep you from becoming too popular. There was a sound of something crashing to the floor in the room behind Naruto. Both looked to the door as the sound of a girl yelling. Mocha pushed Naruto aside with a surprising amount of force and opened the door. I can't believe this. Even after I charm you, you still resist. There was Kurumu Kurono standing on top of a bed while Sukune looked both confused and a bit terrified, with good reason. Kurumu had a pair of leathery wings and a pointed tail now, but aside from that, she looked relatively the same. What are you? Sukune stuttered as he tried to remain as far away from the enraged succubus as possible. Sukune! Mocha cried out, and ran towards Kurumu. The two collided, Mocha's innate physical strength showing itself as she pushed the succubus out a window. Even in her sealed state, she was still stronger than the average girl her age. Ya! Kurumu cried out as she crashed through the window of the hospital. Room! Kurumu-chan! Naruto cried out, running past Sukune and Mocha and diving out the window. He landed skillfully and ran to the succubus's side. She groaned a bit as she got up, for the most part unharmed, having used her wings to slow down her descent toward the ground. Naruto helped her up. Are you alright, Kurumu-chan? I'm fine. Kurumu spoke, turning her gaze to the window above where Sukune and Mocha were watching them from. She growled, come down here and face me, Mocha Akashiya. Let's see just how it goes. Rumors are right on your amazing power. Sukune watched as Kurumu swiped her elongated nails at Mocha, which were surprisingly sharp. Several times he swore he saw her cut through an entire tree like butter. Mocha-san, watch out. Sukune cried out as the two dove out of the way of another dive bomb by the enraged succubus. They hid behind a tree as Kurumu encircled the area, searching for them. Sukune-kun, you're injured. Mocha spoke, looking to a rather large gash down his arm. She could smell the metallic scent of his blood, but shook her head. She had to stay focused. This wasn't about his blood, it was about him, and keeping him safe. Oh, hey, don't worry, Mocha-san. It's not that bad, really. Sukune spoke. There you are. The two looked to see Kurumu flying above them. Figures. You can only hide from me. Just give it up and die already. Mocha wrapped her arms around Sukune, holding him close. Sukune, I'm sorry for always feeding on you. Please know that you're truly precious to me. Mocha-san, remove my rosary, Sukune, and I can fight her. Sukune nodded, alright. He tugged on the cross around her neck, but it did not snap off. Mocha-san, it won't come off. Mocha shook her head. Why? Are you two just going to stand there? Fine. That makes it all the more easy for me to finish you off then. Kurumu shouted as she flexed her claws, closing in on the two. Mocha-san, get out the way or you'll. Mocha didn't budge, instead holding Sukune tighter. It's okay, Sukune-kun. If you're safe from harm, then I don't mind protecting you. Sukune clenched a fist while berating himself. No, this is all because I fell under Kurumu's charm and said those things to Mocha. If none of that had happened, we wouldn't be here. It's my fault we're here. I won't let Mocha be put in further danger because of me. Sukune gripped the rosary around Mocha a final time, and pulled. Naruto watched as a light erupted from the spot where Mocha and Sukune had been standing. He recognized the feeling of that terrifying power. Mocha-chan's rosary was removed again. His eyes widened as he saw Kurumu near them. Crap, Kurumu-chan's in trouble. He dashed towards the three to try and stop the fight. What the hell happened? Kurumu asked herself as she flapped above the dwindling pink aura. She saw Sukune sitting on the ground while Mocha stood up. Her hair was now a distinct color of silver, and her eyes were a piercing red color, like that of blood. Is this the Youkai of a vampire? HMPH. So, you think you can take me on in a fight, little girl? Mocha replied. Her fangs revealed as she gave a slightly menacing grin. Well, what are you waiting for? Kurumu growled with fury, and shot down towards the silver-haired beauty. Mocha quickly jumped over the succubus's head, and grabbed her by the tail before flinging her over her shoulder. Kurumu let out a scream as she was sent crashing into a tree, knocking the air out of her body. Is this all there is to your power? Using underhanded tactics like hypnosis to charm others. Aside from that and your nails, wings and tail, there's not much to you that's very intimidating. Mocha walked slowly towards the girl. I'll teach you. What happens when you challenge one such as myself? Shut up. Why you don't know anything about me? Kurumu snapped. My race is a small one, and among the many that we put under our control, we search for our destined one, who we will spend our lives and raise children with. She stood up, trying her best to ignore the painful sting running throughout her body. You're getting in the way of my search for my destined one, Mocha Akashiya. I won't let that continue. She spread her wings and flew at her a second time. Such a temperamental girl. Mocha stopped, catching Kurumu by the wrist and kneeing her in the gut before slamming her to the ground. Kurumu coughed as spittle flew, and struggled to get up, only to have a foot placed over her stomach. Quick! Mocha turned around in time to see 3 shuriken flying towards her. She leaned to the side, the metal projectiles missing her as they were embedded into a nearby tree. She looked ahead to see Naruto holding several more in each hand. Naruto, stand down. You're still under this girl's charm. I don't know what you're talking about, Mocha-chan. Naruto spoke, though he was still under the control of Kurumu's spell. Leave Kurumu-chan alone. You plan on stopping me if I don't. Mocha spoke, removing her foot from Kurumu. She chuckled a little. Naruto, I almost feel bad, but I'm going to have to beat you out of that spell it would seem. Naruto said nothing, instead chucking the weapons in his hand at the girl while jumping into the air. He made a single hand seal before summoning several shadow clones and engaging Mocha in battle. Mocha, much to her credit, didn't move. She was surprised to see several copies of the blonde appear out of thin air, but she had dealt with worse, she told herself. The first clone tried to deal a spin kick to her, which she deftly caught. Using the momentum of the clone, she spun around and sent the copy into 2 more, dispelling the 3 with a flourish. She spun around just in time to have a foot meet her gut. She grunted before stumbling back a little and feeling 2 arms wrap around her, restraining her. You think that you can beat me into submission like this? Mocha laughed a little. Nope. The clone replied, he might be able to though. What are? Mocha looked ahead to see Naruto dashing at her with that same blue spinning orb he had used before against Seizu. Rasengan. Mocha quickly used her might to break free of the clone's grip, then tripping up the real Naruto and causing him to fall over and lose control of the odd sphere in his hands. Naruto stood up, only to have Mocha right before him. He blocked a punch to the face, feeling the crack of several wrist bones. Her attack continued with a snap kick to the face, which he narrowly avoided by hopping backwards and arching his neck back as it grazed his chin. Definitely a skilled fighter. Mocha commented, you lack the same strength I have, though. She slammed a foot into his gut before continuing with a knee to the jaw. Now, stand down before I resort to using more of my power, Naruto. Naruto struggled to get up, but he was finding it hard to keep focus of Mocha. He grunted as he got on one knee. His vision went dark, and he fell over onto his stomach. Mocha went over to him and checked his pulse, and nodded to herself before standing up. It wouldn't do to have her go and kill a friend of her outer self. You, Mocha began, turning back to Kurumu, though he attacked me, it was because of your charmed powers that he was protecting you. The air seemed to become thick with murderous intent as the unsealed Mocha made her way towards the succubus. I'll make you pay for forcing me to fight Naruto. I didn't mean for him to fight you. I told him to stay out of the fight. Honest. Kurumu spoke, feeling the cold, foreboding aura of Mocha's true self approach her. Please, I didn't mean for this go so far. Enough. I'm going to make sure you can never stand up to me again. Mocha spoke, her voice like ice cutting through the air. A figure stepped between the two, and Mocha immediately recognized it as Sukune. He held in his hands the rosary that sealed her powers away. Mocha-san, that's enough. Mocha raised an eyebrow. What's the meaning of this? Why are you interfering? This girl not only placed a charm on you and Naruto, which also caused Naruto to attack me, but she was attempting to kill us. You truly mean to protect her from me? Sukune sighed. I know what Kurumu did was wrong, but I don't think she meant for it to be like this. Honestly, I believe she's not that cruel of a person, just like you, Mocha. Mocha snatched the rosary from his hands. Don't get me confused with my outer self. She raised the rosary before her so Sukune could see. I'm not anything like my more gentle side, and the only reason I protected you was because my outer self seems to value your friendship so much. She leaned in closer, not to mention that while it isn't the most important thing to her, she does value your blood. The rosary snapped into place on her necklace, and the vampire girl reverted back to her pink-haired self. She blinked a few times before falling into Sukune's arms, out like a light. Is she? Kurumu began. Sukune shook his head. She's just unconscious. Her rosary apparently holds her power. He turned to the blue-haired girl as he continued, listen, Kurumu, I know we had a bad start, but if you are willing to, maybe we could start over. All of us. Kurumu looked to Naruto, who was still unconscious. She felt guilt creep up on her. I don't know if I deserve that. Look what I've done here. I made Naruto do my bidding for me, and even after I told him to stop, he went and put himself in danger. Not to mention that I was attacking you and Mocha. Well, I think Mocha realized that. She held back it looks like. Sukune decided not to mention that Naruto used some weird powers himself, which made him question whether Naruto truly was a human. Kurumu eventually concealed her wings, tail, and nails once more, and went over to the sleeping form of Naruto, Sukune and a slowly awakening Mocha next to her, Sukune-kun. I'm sorry this happened. I was just getting too carried away with my powers, and well, the succubus don't have a high population so. I heard you before, Kurumu. Sukune replied, I won't lie and say I'm happy that you did all this, but I guess the fact that you feel bad shows you're not a cruel person. He smiled a little. I'm sure we can all be friends, Kurumu. Friends. Kurumu repeated, her voice lifting a bit, really? Yeah, but you better give Naruto an explanation as well when he wakes up. He's going to be demanding an answer when he wakes up and feels like he got into a brawl. Right. Kurumu spoke, Sukune-kun, you go and take care of Mocha. I'll bring Naruto to the hospital. Sukune gave a nod, and set Mocha on against a tree while awaiting for her to regain her senses. Kurumu carried Naruto with his arms draped over her shoulders while attempting to carry him on her back. She managed to get the blonde to the hospital, and he was admitted with a minor concussion. Surprisingly, most of the wounds he had sustained from earlier were gone. He actually appeared to be relatively fine for the most part. Thanks to that, Kurumu was able to simply state that Naruto was messing around on a tree and fell to the nurse behind the desk. Simple and plausible. Naruto felt like he had been punched by one of Tsunade's left hooks as he opened his eyes, taking in his surroundings. A white room, with white curtains, and white tiling. Damn it, why am I in a hospital? Naruto grumbled, sitting up. Naruto. The blonde turned to his right to see Kurumu sitting in a chair, a good distance from his bed. She looked up to him for a moment, but her gaze shifted to the floor. How are you feeling? Aside from the killer headache, fine I suppose. Naruto replied, what happened? Did I fall down a flight of stairs or something? Not exactly. Kurumu responded quietly, I need to explain a few things, Naruto. After a half-hour later of explaining on the plot, Kurumu had to win over Sukune and outdo Mocha, why she was in search of a male companion, and the thorough beating the blonde received from Mocha. Kurumu went silent. She was pretty sure that Naruto was pissed. She couldn't blame him, really. Who would? He was used by her just so she could get some boy to like her in order to make Mocha jealous. She felt horrible about it, in all honesty. She wanted to remain friends with Naruto, or at the very least on indifferent terms with him. I see. Naruto stated calmly, so. I was under a charm the whole time. Yeah, that was my doing. Kurumu replied quietly, I understand if you won't want to talk to me anymore. I don't blame you, really. For what it's worth, Naruto-kun, I'm sorry. I forgive you, Kurumu. Kurumu looked up to see Naruto giving her a gentle smile. What? Naruto grinned, the bandage covering one of his eyes as he looked to her. People do crazy things when it comes to family. I'm sure your parents would do the same to ensure there are more succubi in the future, right? Naruto. I used you. Naruto waved a hand. Yeah, I know. I will admit, I'm still a bit hurt by that, but I can understand, desperate situations call for desperate measures. I'll admit it right now, Mocha's a pretty girl, though I don't think she's my type. For you, it's a matter of competition. You're looking for your destined one, but she could be taking away the possible person's attention. Kurumu didn't know whether to sigh in relief, or cry in guilt. She instead walked over to Naruto and hugged him. I promise that I won't go and use you like that ever again, Naruto. She sighed, you're a truly kind person, and possibly the only friend I have here. For me to go and do that. She let go, looking away again, it's unforgivable. Not really, I just forgave you. Naruto replied. That earned a sniffle followed by a laugh from Kurumu as she forced back a few tears. Now, please don't cry, alright? We've learned from it, no sense in dwelling on it. You even said it yourself that Sukune and Mocha want to start fresh with you, right? Why yeah, they did. Naruto's grin grew. Great. You can show them what an awesome person you really are. I'm sure Sukune will see that you can be just as kind as Mocha, and then you can show him your awesome cookie baking skills. Kurumu chuckled a little while wiping away a tear. Was there any way to upset him? It was almost infuriating how Naruto just blew off the whole ordeal like it was nothing. No normal person would have done that. She certainly wouldn't have if she had been in Naruto's shoes. Naruto. I want to start over with you too. Kurumu began, so, do you think? Naruto gave her a thumbs up. You bet, Kurumu-chan. Besides, who am I going to make the pound cake for home economics class with? Kurumu smiled with a small blush on her face. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Maybe, just maybe, she would be able to make friends with Naruto and the others after all. Later on that evening Naruto was allowed to leave the hospital. Kurumu walked home with him just to make sure he was completely alright, and after taking a nice shower, the blonde retired for the night. Naruto groaned as he got out of his bed. He looked at his clock, blinking to clear his eyes of bleariness. The clock read 5:30 in the morning. He ran a hand through his hair and sighed, why the hell did I wake up at this time of the day? Plink. Naruto was on alert immediately, dropping to the ground and looking towards the window. Something hit his dorm room window, he swore it. Plink. What the? Naruto stood up, and looked down outside. Naruto. Hey, down here. The blonde rubbed his eyes before opening the window, immediately assaulted by the cool morning air. Kurumu-chan. What are you doing out here? Kurumu grinned, pebble in hand. I was trying to get your attention. I was throwing pebbles at your window. I can see that, why? Kurumu looked a bit sheepish. Well, the cafeteria serves breakfast at 6, and, well, I was wondering if you wanted to join me for something to eat. Naruto didn't have class until 8, but he didn't see the harm in being up early. Sure, why not? Give me a few minutes to get changed. 5 minutes later the two were walking towards the school, the crisp and cool air blowing gently as they talked quietly. It was still early, and relatively quiet, so neither of them wanted to disturb the relative calm. How are you feeling? Kurumu inquired as she looked to the blonde. Naruto gave a smile. Hale and hearty, Kurumu-chan. A bit tired, but that's just because I'm not a morning person. Kurumu giggled. Well, you can get some coffee then. Her laughter continued as he made a face at the mention of the traditional morning brew. Let me guess, not a coffee person either. Blech, hell no. I drank that stuff once when I was traveling with my godfather and I nearly choked on it. Well, that's probably because you didn't add any sweetener or sugar. Some people prefer their coffee black, others like it sweet. You just have to find a balance that suits you. Kurumu explained, my mom personally enjoys tea more. Tea I can bear with. Yuck. Kurumu shuddered, that stuff is so bitter. So is coffee. Naruto retorted with a grin. Kurumu just stuck her tongue out at the blonde. The two found seats in the nearly empty mess hall and dined on some eggs and ham, and 2 giant pancakes in Naruto's case, while talking about their other classes. I'm not a big fan of studying, to be honest. Kurumu said while finishing her ham, it's never been like me to do sit down and read all day. Yeah, I'm the same. I have to make several clones in. Naruto cursed himself for speaking out about his abilities, hoping Kurumu didn't catch it. Clones. She was quiet for a moment. Oh. Yeah, I remember that. She leaned forward a bit. Is that part of your true monster identity? Naruto mentally let out a sigh of relief. Why yeah, it is. Ah, I have a few powers, and making clones of myself is one of them. That's so neat. Kurumu said in a hushed whisper. I've never heard of that before. Really? Haha, it comes pretty natural to me. Maybe I can teach you how to do that as well. Kurumu's eyes were the size of saucers. Seriously. Is that possible? I mean, isn't that an ability exclusive to your breed of monster? Naruto scratched his cheek. I'm not sure. Never know until we try, right? Although, I think you could probably stand to learn how to control your chakra first. I doubt you had any basic lessons in that area. Maybe taijutsu as well. Naruto's thoughts began to wander. Not to be rude, but you were definitely lacking in a basic form yesterday. Kurumu felt a twinge of anger wash over her. Well, of course. Mocha's a freaking vampire. What do you expect? You got beaten yourself, if I recall correctly. Naruto shrugged. Fair enough, we both need work. Kurumu shook her head. I don't know, it'll have to wait until later on when we're completely adjusted to classes. I guess you're right. The blonde shoveled in some of his pancakes. So, you talked to Mocha and Sukune yet? Yeah. Kurumu slouched a bit. They were pretty accepting of my apology, but I still feel bad. She perked up a bit. Still, they want to be friends, and that's what matters. Besides, I can get Sukune to like me without my powers as well. Yeah, just show him how good of a person you are in. Quote. I'll just seduce him with my body. Naruto nearly spit out his food and had to swallow down some of his tea to avoid choking. He coughed a bit, and Kurumu was ready to give him the Heimlich maneuver when he spoke. Kurumu, don't you think that's a bit much? No. Why? Oh, where to begin? Her bust size easily outranked that of most girls twice her age, and while he wouldn't admit it out loud, Naruto wouldn't trust himself if she was in a swimming suit and standing before him. Bad thoughts, Naruto. Bad thoughts. Naruto waved a hand. Well, I mean, I'm not a pro at this stuff, but don't you think personality is important in getting someone to like you? Well, yeah, but first I'm going to use my natural talents to make him fall head over heels for me. Kurumu spoke as if it was the most obvious answer. It's what we succubi do. So, are there only female succubi, or are there males too? Naruto asked. I hate to see how the men of your breed act. Well, the males of our kind are incubus. We succubi don't see many of them. They're kind of separate from us, strangely enough. Okay, Naruto replied. Kurumu groaned. Look, long story short, succubi need to find a male outside of their kind in order to have children. That explain enough. Fine, I won't cry. Naruto shook his head. Why are you so determined to get Sukune to like you? Kurumu set down her fork and looked the blonde right in the eyes. I believe he's my destined one. You recall me explaining that last night, right? Yeah, how do you know he is, though? Well, she let out a dreamy sigh. He's charming, cute, sensitive, brave, and cute. Naruto felt a pang of jealousy run through him. So, what about Mocha-chan? Kurumu grinned. I'll just have to outdo her, that's all. Naruto forced a smile onto his face. For some reason or another, he felt frustrated. Oh. Then do your best, haha. Kurumu couldn't help but notice the way Naruto's laugh seemed forced. She still wasn't too familiar with him, but she could tell when a person was hiding something. Naruto, are you okay? Yeah, just peachy. He got up. I'd better get going. I want to get some exercise in for the day before class today. The succubus frowned. Alright. See you in class. She waved goodbye to the blonde, still feeling like she had said something that upset him. Alright class, I have the quizzes graded. When I call your name, please come up and collect them. Nekonome spoke with a cheerful smile. I must add that I was pleasantly surprised with the majority of the class. 3 of you got full points, and the class average was in the B range. Well done. Naruto was one of the last to be called up. As he picked up his paper, Nekonome spoke. Uzumaki-san, if you would, I'd like to speak to you after class about certain matters. Is that alright? Naruto had gym 15 minutes after this class, but if she wished to speak to him, he would appease her. After all, she had a nice smile, and that always helped. Sure, Nekonon-sensei. Great, thank you Uzumaki-san. Naruto looked at his paper as he sat back in his desk, and groaned. There was a C+ on the upper right corner of his paper with a little smiley face of Nekonon-sensei, along with a little speech bubble saying, keep trying. The lecture was relatively dull, although Naruto did appreciate the enthusiasm Nekonon had for the topic of human history. Naruto personally was new to the topic as well, apparently. After all, this world, his world, and the human world were three separate entities. When the bell rang, signaling the end of class, Naruto got his things packed up and waved goodbye to Sukune and Mocha, who were heading towards art class. Nekonon-sensei, what is it that you wanted to talk to me about? Naruto's homeroom teacher smiled a little as she took a seat. Naruto-kun, you know of a girl by the name Mizore-Shirayuki, correct? Mizore-chan. Naruto gave a grin, only the best dodgeball partner in all of Youkai Academy. He chuckled a little as Nekonon gave a nod while giggling a bit. What about her? Well, to be honest, she has yet to actually show up to homeroom. Really? Naruto scratched his head. Is she okay? Well, you see her in gym, so she's fine, right? Naruto shrugged. She's not much of a talker, really. I mean, she's nice, and she's not really rude or anything. I just don't know her incredibly well. He looked up. What's her homeroom class anyway? Mine. Nekonon replied. She actually sits in front of you. Naruto blinked, but it made sense. He always had an empty seat in front of him, which severely limited his ability to sleep in classes since no one sat in front of him, and he had become used to it quickly. I would like it if you can ask her if she will start coming to homeroom. Don't pressure her, but just let her know that I'm here to talk with her if she's having problems. Naruto gave a nod. Sure thing. I'll talk to her in gym class as soon as I can. With a quick thumbs up and wave, Naruto darted down the halls toward the boys' gym locker rooms. He quickly got into his gym attire and headed outside to the soccer field where the class was gathering today. Naruto was able to pinpoint the light purple hair that belonged to the elusive girl. He headed towards the girl, but halted when he saw Katsubo Okuto walk up to her. They talked for a moment or two. It looked like they were arguing almost, if Naruto was reading facial expressions right. They were speaking in low tones though, but he knew something was up. Katsubo eventually left Mizore, a scowl on his face while she looked rather distraught. Naruto approached the lavender-haired girl, Mizore-chan. Mizore turned towards Naruto, and her face lit up. Oh, Naruto. Hello. She looked away. If we can, do you want to be on the same team as me? Naruto was a bit surprised by the immediate invitation to be teammates again, but gave her a grin while nodding, you bet. Katsubo eventually had the teams made. Alright, kids, I'm sure you all know the rules of soccer, so let's get started, shall we? The game started off with Naruto making the first goal within a minute's time. It wasn't much of a surprise to see Naruto and Mizore's team ahead 4-2 by the time the game was over. Haha, wow, that was awesome. Naruto sighed as he took a minute to breath. Hey, Mizore-chan, great game. Mizore looked away while smiling. Thanks, Naruto. You're pretty good at sports. She chuckled as Naruto pulled a few strains of grass out of his hair. You could stand to maybe not get so dirty though. Bah, the grass stains and dirt are just proof of my victory. Naruto flexed a bicep while Mizore chuckled. Then Naruto remembered what he had been meaning to ask Mizore from the start. Hey, Mizore-chan, He scratched his chin while trying to find the proper way to state his question. My homeroom teacher said that you're actually in the same class as me. She was wondering why you haven't been attending homeroom lately. Why you're in my homeroom class? Mizore asked, a bit surprised by this apparent revelation. I only went to the first day, and well. She sighed. Naruto, I'm not a big fan of class. What's the matter, Mizore-chan? Naruto asked when she became silent. Is something wrong? If it's because of classes, I'm sure Nekonon-sensei would be happy to help with. Naruto, I'm not a big fan of crowds. Mizore replied. Really? Naruto raised an eyebrow. Why do you go to gym class then? Mizore frowned. I like sports, and you're here. I'm kind of a loner for the most part. You're such a nice guy though, so I don't mind gym so much with you here. She looked at him, smiling once more. If you want, I'll start going to homeroom class again. Naruto laughed. Well, yeah, that'd be great, but it's not for my sake, Mizore-chan. It's for you too. I mean, it can only help your grades, right? Mizore nodded. Right. After gym was done, Naruto was surprised to see Mizore waiting for him in the hall. He grinned. Hey, Mizore-chan. What's up? Mizore blushed a bit. It's almost lunchtime. Do you want to get a bite to eat? Naruto's stomach beat him to the punch with a growl. Haha, yeah, I guess I am pretty hungry. I hope they're serving ramen today. I don't think they have a ramen bar in the cafeteria, Naruto. Mizore stated while inserting a sucker into her mouth. They do have ice cream though. Well, they ought to get a ramen bar. It's a crime against humanity to deny a person their ramen. Ramen's too hot for my tastes. Mizore smiled as Naruto gave her an appalled look. What? Naruto shook his head while mumbling something about people and lack of fine dining. Mizore just giggled as Naruto pouted, deciding that maybe that he'd settle for some ham sandwiches instead. Naruto and Mizore reached the cafeteria in time to beat the large mass of students. As they took their respective lunches outside, Naruto noted two familiar figures running towards him. Sukune, Kurumu-chan. Naruto's smile dropped as he took in the duo's appearance. Sukune had a fairly large bruise over his head accompanied by a nice-sized bump, and Kurumu had an ice pack pressed against her forehead. What the hell happened to you two? Sukune sighed. Naruto, we need your help. Sure, what's the problem? Kurumu decided to reply. Snotty little brats who think they can get away with murder, that's what's the problem. Come on, she's over this way. Who? Naruto asked. Just follow me. Keep a lookout for falling pans and kettles. Kurumu replied as she heading off in the direction she had come from. Naruto quirked an eyebrow before turning to Sukune, who simply shook his head and followed the succubus. Naruto looked to Mizore, who appeared to be just as clueless as he did. They headed towards the direction his two friends were heading in, hoping that everything was okay. Thanks for listening. Do hope you enjoy. If you guys enjoyed, if you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notifications, and also check out the other videos that L have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.
I need help! Thanks, but I was honored. Flash me! Turn out! Decoding the signal! Found us! Thanks! Medic! Help!
Our forces are well prepared. Push forward. Delta 2 is ours.
Strategic beacon ready to deploy.
Objective Delta 2 is under attack.
You saved my life! Thanks! I need aid!
This is the day we put an end to Havoc's ideas of a new world. Capture this sector. Don't give them any ground. This is their last stand. Take the sector. Victory in sight. They can't hold much longer.
Enemy located!
One objective left. You're almost there.
Found them!
This is their last line of defense. We have enough forces left. Keep pushing and breaking through the enemy's defense. Victory in sight. They can't hold much longer. Capture the last sector. We're going to win these. Victory in sight. They can't hold much longer. Guided missiles launched.